You look at what Donald Trump is doing on the eve of the presidential debate, talking about violence, talking about bloody deportations. We're going to have deportations and they're going to be bloody.
First of all, she is prosecuting everybody. The shocking development, what are you talking about? We are in pretrial proceedings in multiple states.
The entire case is flawed. It is past the statute of limitations. It was purely brought for political reasons. We know this. And when you bring DOJ officials onto the DA's office in a state court for felonies, it's a joke.
Trump issues a major warning. If you're going to cheat in this election, you better think again, because El Trumpo, when he's in charge, isn't going to take it from the executive office. He posted this on X. A lot of people upset about it. He's threatening election officials. He's threatening lawyers. He's threatening all of us. And we're going to see why he's not, exactly not. And we're going to ask ourselves why they are so scared. Oh, because maybe they're concerned that tables are going to turn. So here's what Trump posted in a very nice post. He posted this on September 7th, over the weekend, 6:17 p.m. He says, all right, listen, cease and desist. I, the president, together with many attorneys and legal scholars like yours truly, am watching the sanctity of the 2024 presidential election very closely because I know better than most the rampant cheating and skullduggery that has taken place by the Democrats in the 2020 presidential election. It was a disgrace to our nation. Therefore, the 2024 election, where votes have just started being cast, will be under the closest professional scrutiny, and when I win, those people that cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences so that this depravity of justice does not happen again. We cannot let our country further devolve into a third world nation, and we won't. Please beware that this legal exposure extends to lawyers, political operatives, donors, illegal voters, and corrupt election officials. Those involved in unscrupulous behavior will be sought out, caught, and prosecuted at levels, unfortunately, never seen before in our country. The president, Donald Trump, with a very stern statement, one that should be heeded well, and I hope that he makes good on this. And so we've got now CNN sharing this statement. They say Trump warms up for the debate by threatening to jail election officials, and they're all shocked about this. Oh my gosh. Trump is saying if you break the law, he's going to prosecute you. If suddenly the machines stop working in Arizona, oh no, 2022 Kerry Lake is going to the polls. Everybody's waiting out line. All the machines break conveniently because they got the wrong paper in there. Okay. The day of, when everybody's going to come vote for her, the machines stop working. Correct. Right. There's water main breaks in Fulton County, Georgia. Okay. There's a presumption of valid signatures in Michigan. They're just scanning signatures. No one's looking at them. Right. So they say Trump warms up by threatening to jail election officials. If they break the law, they should be jailed. After all, aren't they saying that all these alternate electors and GOP party heads in Arizona, Wisconsin, and elsewhere, aren't they saying that they were all part of this grand conspiracy? A bunch of people got charged out of Georgia. Trump, one of them, because there's this grand conspiracy. But Trump says he's going after the cheaters, the fraudsters, and more. And so this is what CNN is saying. This does not look like it's an opinion piece. No, it's an analysis piece. But what's so interesting about this is they don't flip out and cry when people like Jocelyn Benson do this. Remember when she gave us this little statement when she was saying the same dang thing in her state of Michigan, which she's working overtime to rig?
If someone were to violate the law and not certify the election at the local level, we will come for you. So any local certifier thinking of skirting the law and not certifying the vote, don't even think about it, because
all right, we'll get you, because she's got that psycho Disneyland music where she'll kill you if you don't follow her, right? So look at that face, man. She'll do it too. Yeah. All right, be careful. So she is Jocelyn Benson, and they're very upset that Trump is even hinting at this. Jesse Rodriguez over from MSNBC, he says this. He says, Trump threatens long-term prison sentence for Dem donors. Well, did you donate illegally? Were you donating like back when Obama was doing this by trying to waive addresses so that foreign dark money could come in from who knows where, all over the place, all over the world, coming into Obama's coffers. If you're illegally raising funds, I mean, after all, Trump got prosecuted by Alvin Bragg for fraud, for doing nothing. Now, Lisa Rubin is also on MSNBC, and so these two are tag teaming it up. She says, and lawyers too, and lawyers are going to be prosecuted. And we're asking ourselves, okay, you mean like all the attorneys who got indicted, like in Georgia? Many were indicted there. I believe Kenneth Chesebro was there, Jenna Ellis was there, Sidney Powell was there, Rudy Giuliani's been indicted. Your side, the left, is indicting everybody who stands in their way. And they're bringing lawfare not only against Trump, but against RFK Jr., Jill Stein. Everyone's confirming it. But they're very upset about this. And you can see here, we've got Joe Scarborough brought on Claire McCaskill. And we're going to listen to these two and see what they say about this.
You look at what Donald Trump is doing on the eve of the presidential debate, talking about violence, talking about bloody deportations. We're going to have deportations and they're going to be bloody. Talking about the January 6th rioters as patriots and saying that he's going to get them out of jail.
Well, they're political victims.
Mocking, once again.
And if you're a political victim of a political prosecution and you're enduring that, then yeah, you are a patriot for your country for fighting against totalitarian regimes.
His husband getting his head smashed in by somebody that was spouting Trump talking points.
Okay, he also had BLM and like Together Forever Unity stuff in his cracked out trailer park also there, Joe.
We could go down the list, but he is doing that right now. And this whole idea that we see in the media, oh, well, the left wing says this, you know, the right wing says that. The false moral equivalencies, I think, are really laid low. But this is some left wing, right wing thing. When you see Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and all of these generals that work for Donald Trump saying the man is unfit to be president.
Okay, yeah. If Dick Cheney says Trump's unfit, that's the best endorsement of all time. And how can Claire McCaskill even keep a straight face on this? You can see Mika Brzezinski, Joe Brzezinski's husband, is here looking down at her notes like, oh yeah, Dick Cheney? Because these people hate Dick Cheney, or they did until he was useful. There was that always weird relationship. They're like, we love Liz, but her father's still a bad guy, right? Until he's not. Until Kamala comes out, starts screaming that she wants war with Iran, and she wants endless funds for all of our allies across the world, whatever that means, and they're going to just be funded till the end of days. Of course Dick Cheney likes her. Of course the Democrats are thrilled with this newfound relationship because they're the party of war.
I am a little discouraged at how the mainstream media is covering the race like you are, Joe. Listen, what he said over the weekend deserves a headline this morning.
What?
It deserves a headline.
It is. It's all over the place.
It would get a headline if Kamala Harris said stuff like that.
Did you just see the headline from CNN? I just played it, Claire. Have you opened up page at all?
For sure. It would be a big headline. It would be a shocking development. But because we're used
First of all, she is prosecuting everybody. The shocking development, what are you talking about? We are in pretrial proceedings in multiple states.
Almost like everybody, and I'm talking to the editors here and the headline writers. The editors and the headline writers need to, get a grip here and really have a gut check about whether or not they are writing this stuff, and particularly writing headlines in a way that is really reflecting what's going on. And I got to tell you, I got to point out what's going on in Venezuela. Most Americans
they're shipping their criminals here,
and
you're letting them in?
This could happen. Look what's going on in Venezuela. You had a guy run for president who lost by huge margins, won't release the results, and has now jailed 2,000 people who had the nerve to speak out for the election result that they voted for. And
wow, is she fighting for the J6ers? Is she talking about America? We haven't quite jailed 2,000 yet, but we're getting close. We've definitely prosecuted about 1,600, I think the number is. They want to get to 2,000. Is she talking about America? Wow. Is she talking about what they did to us on January 6th and to the MAGA movement, the extremist, homegrown, domestic violent extremists?
And now the person who was on the ballot has fled the country. They got on a plane and went to Spain this weekend. This guy is going to hold on to power even though he lost the election by a landslide, by force, by violence, by jailing people. And I think there's too many people, especially the business leaders on Wall Street, that are being for this guy. Nikki Haley, she knows what can happen in countries when someone decides that the Constitution and rule of law doesn't apply to them. And I just think this is a really scary moment. And all you got to do is look and see what's going on in another country where there's a...
Yeah, where you guys are doing the exact same thing. Like literally you're doing that. Like literally. That's Claire McCaskill, a shining example, a caricature of the Democratic voter. Now, we carry on. Trump's team, even though the sentencing has been postponed in the New York criminal prosecution, we still have have an effort by the Trump defense to remove this case up into federal court. Remember where we're at right now. We're in Judge Mercan's courtroom. He is a biased judge, in my opinion. The same judge who made 3 separate donations to anti-Republican organizations. One was to Joe Biden, one was to some other get out the vote operation, and one was to Stop Republicans, which was dedicated to stopping Trump. So he actually donated to stop Trump specifically, not only to endorse Joe Biden. So here is what Trump's team is doing now that all of that has happened. Sentencing has been delayed. They're still trying to take this case away from the judge. They say, all right, listen, clerk of the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Remember, we were at the district court. So we went from the state level court to the federal level low court. We're on appeal now from the federal level low court to the Court of Appeals to say the district court should have kept the case and not sent it back down to the state court. So they say, all right, listen, we are sending this in because we've got to give you an update. Okay, there's a couple things that happened since we filed our original request. We have asked for a stay motion that is currently pending with you. And we got to tell you, there have been 2 developments that have come through here since September 6th, since Friday over the weekend. Now, first, the district court denied the related stay motion that Trump filed on the 4th. And remember, they said originally, we need you to at least keep the case while they're deciding this. But they decided it very quickly. The district court just said, oh, no, denied immediately. So there was really no need to wait. Second, Justice Mercan also continued for his immunity and the sentencing in the trial. So the immunity decision, as we know, has gotten bumped to November 12th, which are just short time after the election. And then we have the actual sentencing date. So immunity ruling first, then sentencing on the 26th. So they say a Rule 8A2 stay is appropriate so that we can preserve Trump's right to a fair and orderly litigation of the presidential immunity defense in a federal forum. So in other words, remember, part of the original argument for Trump asking for an adjournment, a postponement of the sentencing, was time. Like, everything is really compressed. And so the judge postponed that. And so they're saying, well, okay, in addition to that, here's another reason. Because of the significance of the presidential immunity doctrine, the federal government and the public share an interest in that outcome. And so even if these novel and complex issues are to be addressed after the presidential election, we still got to get through this stuff. And so, for example, President Trump's ability to seek appellate review of the district court's ruling would be irreparably harmed in the absence of a stay, because then the judge could move forward with sentencing and a, quote, judgment of conviction before the appeal is resolved. So furthermore, Mercan's current schedule does not allow adequate time for the interlocutory appeal of an immunity ruling if the issue is resolved in a way that contradicts the immunity case. Accordingly, while Trump defers to the court whether we need an administrative stay, a stay pursuant to Rule 8A2 is still necessary to preserve the status quo pending the appeal. This case looks like it's going to be processed in the Second Circuit. Roger Parloff has the panel that is aboard. It says that we are going to have People versus the State of New York. That's going to be for oral arguments on September 10th. No, just for substantive motions, no oral arguments on the written filing. So we'll know more about that soon this week when we get an opinion from the Second Circuit. Now, we are still debating immunity. Trump's defense attorney, Alina, is in the House, and she's explaining for us what immunity looks like and why Trump has it.
Absolutely. And not only were there multiple witnesses brought from the administration while he was in the office, but President Trump himself was sitting at the Oval in the Resolute desk while this was happening. The acts they claim, the payback by an attorney for an NDA, was during the time that President Trump was in the Oval. The entire case is flawed. It is past the statute of limitations. It was purely brought for political reasons. We know this. And when you bring DOJ officials onto the DA's office in a state court for felonies, it's a joke.
She's right. Shout out to Alina Habba. It is a joke. And her legal analysis is on point as usual. And another person who was fired up over the weekend was Senator Tom Cotton. He was ridiculing the Liz Cheney and Daddy Dick endorsement that came out from the Dick Cheney family. And he was saying, you know, I think the reason that they are so bitter and filled with sourness is because Cheney got obliterated by the good people of Wyoming, our friends from Wyoming, by 40 points. Got crushed. And now we are seeing the actual cheaters, okay? The people who created the Hunter Biden lie, the CIA. They didn't do it themselves with like a guy with a CIA badge. They gave it to contractors so that they could say, we didn't do it. Here's Tom Cotton.
I want to turn to a very different topic, and that is something that the Justice Department said this week. They detailed a Russian government effort to stoke divisions in the U.S. using front organizations and social media prominent right-wing influencers like Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson, who have ties to Tenet Media. Now, that's a company that the Justice Department says was being funded by Russian operatives. You sit on the Intelligence Committee. How worried are you that right-wing influencers, people who do have an impact on their constituents, are being funded either directly or indirectly by the Russian government in order to make an impact on this election?
Well, first off, Dana, we haven't been in session. So I haven't seen any intelligence about this matter. I've only seen the allegations I've read in the newspaper. People should not knowingly take money from the government of Russia or Iran or China or any other adversarial nation to try to influence the election. But I also think it's fair to say that a few memes or videos in the vast sea of political commentary is not going to make much of a difference in this election, nor has it in past elections as well. What did make a difference in the last election is the lies about Hunter Biden's laptop that more than four dozen former intelligence officials lied about in the middle of that campaign.
Yeah.
And most networks, to include this one,
No,
bought
it's just
that
their
lie hook,
opinion.
line, and sinker. That did make a difference in the election. But I think a few videos or commentaries, which again, you shouldn't do if you're out there in the business of commentating on elections, is not going to make a difference in the vast sea of commentary we see.
And they don't like that answer because their side is allowed to accept money from wherever, anyone and anywhere. It's just free money. Come on in, we'll take it. And as long as it's useful, it's great. Hunter Biden got paid from all sorts of nefarious actors. Nobody batted an eye at that. Nobody was complaining that he wasn't registered with FARA, but he was on the Ukrainian side, which is a part of the corrupt cabal that is currently in charge. So you can see he was a useful idiot and they exploited him to the ends, and his daddy as well. They're the cheaters. They say the other side is Trump is now threatening election officials. Yes, if you cheat and rig the election, again, you should be prosecuted. And I hope that he makes good on that promise.